So many cultures out there have their own versions of a filling stuffed inside of a dough. Things like ravioli, pierogi, dumplings, and one of my personal favorites, empanadas. Crispy, perfectly fried, juicy packages filled with all manner of different fillings. This recipe is a green chili pork empanada that absolutely slaps. It's an ode to one of my favorite restaurants from college called Boca 31 in Denton, Texas. We are going to serve them with some garlic crema for dunking. When they are hot and crispy out of the fryer, they are absolutely unbeatable. This is gonna be the base for what we braise our pork in. So we've got our 4 anaheims, we've got 4 jalapenos, but we also need our 3 tomatillos. Tomatillos are always interesting. They're like bright, flavorful, light, sort of acidic. They've got this like papery film. When you remove it, there is like tons of stickness to them, and you're gonna need to wash that off. So these have been washed. The stickiness is pretty much gone. We're just gonna slice them in half, and this whole plate of vegetables is going to go under the broiler to get charred. We need half a yellow onion for this. I don't want too much onion, but I do want some. So all of this goes into building a really flavorful pork dish itself, as well as a flavorful sauce to make sure that the empanadas stay juicy and delicious on the inside. So quartered these. All of our jalapenos and anaheims can just stay like this in some oil, just some salt. Toss, toss, toss. Look at all these beauties. Greasy little pan, broil. It's gonna happen pretty quick if you do it over high. So one thing you're gonna need when the anaheims come out is a bowl for them to sit and steam in. It's worth taking the skin off. And to do that, we're gonna use a bowl and we'll saran wrap the top. The steam is going to cook the inside of the peppers, let the skin remove itself from the flesh, and then we'll just scrape it off. Pork, pork, pork. This is about 2 pounds of pork shoulder, and then we're just gonna take these down into cubes. This one's actually pretty large. After we've taken this down, removed some of the fat, it's probably gonna be around 1.5 pounds or so. You don't want a ton of fat in the final braise. So we'll just take this down, and any of these big pockets of fat, you can see like there's a lot in this little section. We'll try to remove it as much as we can. I wanna braise this for about 2 hours or so I want these pieces to be tender within that time. Boy, I'll tell you what, that looks good. This is where we want it. Some of them really nicely charred. Jalapenos are dark, anaheims are super dark. Anaheims in a bowl. The rest of these can just hang out on this pan. Super hot. It's been time enough for these to cool. Well, they're still pretty hot, pretty steamy. But check it, they're gonna be super soft when they go in the braise. So we'll take off the top, cut them in half. And then from there, depending on how you cooked them, if you got them far enough, the outer layer is gonna just peel away super easily. You can really just take a knife and scrape. You can take out the seeds and ribs if you need it, but there are those pieces. Now just slice through these, make them a little bit smaller. Jalapenos, super easy. Take the top off, scrape out the seeds, and slice them. We'll grab the rest of these onions, take them down. We got our vegetables, we've got our pork. Our cutting process is done. I'm gonna just season this pork up slightly. Whenever I do any sort of braising, the first step, brown the meat. Garlic is also a vegetable you need. You could have roasted it, you could have forgotten it like I did, but here's like 4 cloves of garlic that's gonna go in with the veggies. Seasoning wise, cumin, bay, salt, pepper, maybe throw in a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder. Those go really well with any kind of braise like this. Did I just turn it off? Hello? Little squeeze of olive oil. Get some fond on the bottom of the pan. Those are those brown bits that just taste really delicious. See, this is what I want. This is what I'm talking about. In here, our anaheims are bringing the peppery vegetal green flavor. Jalapenos are spice. Tomatillos are that vegetal bright flavor, so it's lifting the whole thing. Onions and garlic are just really classic aromatics. Deglazing is a really important process. A little bit of water. Keep the temperature up and scrape. We are pulling up everything that got stuck to the bottom of the pan, and we are going to use all of that to build basically an immediate base of flavor. We can add our veggies and the rest of our water. Salt. Just some black pepper. This is just a little bit onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder. These are very different tasting than the actual fresh versions of themselves. Cumin. Lots of cumin to me is really important for this. The bay can go in. So this is about to simmer. All of this pork, along with all of the juices, can go in. Pork's in, juices are in. So it's not fully covering everything. This isn't a stew, it's a bit more of a braise. Braise means some of the pieces are like sticking out. So you can see a piece sticking out, piece sticking out. Stew would be everything covered. This is gonna come up to a simmer, and we're gonna let this go for like 2 hours or so. Pork is gonna tell you where it's at. If it's tender, it's good. If it's not tender, if you can't like pull it apart with tongs, it's not ready yet. Just use your feelers. We're gonna give it 2 hours, and we'll test it after that. Let me give this a big ol', yeah. Okay, we're tender. You wanna leave as much of the vegetable pulp in here while getting out as much of the pork as you can. Perfect. It's going to be very, very liquidy. And that's good because we're gonna cook this down and make it much thicker. Hot, 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 hot. So for the dough, I've got 3 cups of all-purpose flour. This is about 1/4 of a cup of lard. If you're a grams person, this is like 460 grams of flour to about 45 grams of fat or lard or shortening. Big old pinch. We'll mix that in. Essentially right now what we're doing is making a pie dough, just like a savory pie dough, by mixing the lard in with your hands to make like little pea-sized, small, flaky pieces of lard. Now this is about 1 cup. Whoa, that was close. It's about 1 cup of water, ice cold, with like a splash of vinegar in it. So just make sure it comes together, and we'll cover this and just kind of let it rest in the fridge for the time it takes to pull the meat and finish reducing the sauce. All right, covered, going in the fridge. So meat, you just pull it. You're pulling meat. This section, delicious, great. This is all pretty much chunky, globby fat. This is like a core childhood memory of mine. I think it was the Amanda show, Meatloaf Crunch. It's like cereal meatloaf. I have thought about a way to make Meatloaf Crunch work in real life. That show was unhinged. Woo, this is a big old pile of pork. It's time to taste this and see where we're at. All right, salt for sure. Lots of it. Just gonna do 1 lime in here for now. Use a fork, just stick it in. Let's twist. Particularly juicy lime, so I'm gonna leave it. It smells brighter. All right, more salt. That is delicious. Let's do a little bit of this. Throw in a handful of this. Yeah, it's good. So here's that final porky mix. Just gonna set this in the fridge and eat it with some chips later. Again, now it's just like a green, nice salsa verde. We need a crema to dip these crispy boys in when they're out. To get said crema working, you just need 1 little container of like whole fat Greek yogurt, a decent amount of lime. Mixy mix, yep, that's dairy. Most important thing is a clove of garlic grated into this. This needs a little bit more water. Last little mix, great. This can chill in the fridge. It's crema. There you go. This is what you want. Smells garlicky, smells limey, delicious. We're just gonna pour out the whole dough. You can see not all the flour is in yet, which is actually kind of okay. A little bit of kneading, but again, not too much. This makes roughly 16 empanadas, so we'll go in half. We'll go 1/4. You can fry these and you can bake them. To me, the frying ones do turn out a little tastier. Naturally, you're frying something, of course it's gonna be tastier. However, it doesn't mean the non-fried ones aren't good. It's a little bit more of like a hand pie vibe for the non-fried ones. So at this point, we're just rolling these out. You don't want them too doughy, so roll them out, but you also don't want them like paper thin. We're gonna take What I would say is like 2 to 3 tablespoons of filling in each one. The truth is you just don't want blowouts. Fold it over, seal it, and then to finish the seal, kind of roll and pinch and roll and pinch. So you're making a little pouch that's gonna stay together in the fryer. So roll, pinch, pinch, pinch. Home style, rolled, folded, homemade. These ones are ready to go in the oven at about 400 degrees convection, so they get nice and a little bit brown. They're not gonna get as brown as the fried ones. Do a little droppy drop of some olive oil. That'll help with browning. And then we will dock these ones, which means just making some holes for some steam. There you go, perfect. So this is up to about 370 or so. This is ready to go. Be super careful. This oil is pretty hot. Make sure they don't stick to the bottom. They're gonna bubble up and start to rise. So I'm just gonna hold them under. Can you see that already? Oh yeah. And really, we are just making sure that the dough is cooked. Oh, yeah, oh yeah. Oh my gosh, look at all these bubbles. If you listen close to them, you can hear the screams of the empanadas. I don't know how else to phrase it, but they're like, that's what it sounds like, and I kind of love it. There you go, empanadas. Check all of these out. They're so freaking good. The dunk and the crema, the just general good happiness that comes from these. One more hit of the fried one. Ooh. Really, really appreciate you guys being here. I want to thank everybody who has been commenting. You guys are probably the kindest people I've seen on the internet, maybe ever. And I just really appreciate it. It means a lot. I want to keep that train rolling and just cultivate just a general audience of kindness and love. And so I really appreciate it. Thank you to the amazing people supporting me on Patreon. If you want more cooking content, check out my karage video where I make delicious, crunchy fried chicken to go over a rice bowl. That's gonna be right here. Cheers.